Hey, creative souls, writers, word witches, are you tuned into the cosmos and do you follow the stars and the planetary alignments? Are you a writer who understands that the rough magic of writing is about more than putting words on the page, and that there really is something magical that happens, maybe even spiritual, when you have faith in the creative process and you reach flow state? In this video, I will be talking about how the full moon lunar eclipse in Pisces can benefit your writing practice. And as I mentioned recently, I have moved away from reading from a script and to talking from notes, and I'm really liking it a lot. And I hope that this change hasn't been too jarring for you and that you still are enjoying the way I deliver this content. I am also talking about the new and full moons impact on your writing lives from my own understanding of planetary events. And I don't get too complicated about it. I just do these posts for the new moons and the full moons because I don't consider myself an astrologer. But over the years, following astrology, I have learned some things myself. And so I'm doing this rather than relying on others. And, I feel like it may lead to something more along these lines. I don't know what yet. One exception in this video is that after I talk about the full moon in Pisces in general, I will talk a bit about the eclipse and what that adds to it all. And I'm basing this on a few words from Rachel Lang. She's an astrologer here on YouTube. And I mentioned her because I'm a fan. We are not partnered in any way. She has no idea I'm sharing this with you. We don't have any kind of affiliate agreement, but she's a lovely person. I've taken a class of hers. She did an astrocartography reading for me because, as some of you know, I'm figuring out where my next home will be if I can ever get out of this godforsaken city. Not that it's a bad city, it's just a city, and cities are not good for me. But first, before we get to all of that, I want to thank you all for subscribing. And as you may know, my goal has been to reach 500 subscribers by the end of September. And, at the rate that things have been moving, it doesn't look like I will make it, but we never know, right? To me, the point is this: whether I hit 500 by the end of September or not really is immaterial. Of course, I would love that because when I have 500 subscribers, then I have more bells and whistles available to me and I can do more for you. But I do know I will reach 500 at some point and beyond. And when I hit 500, then I will set another goal. So I want to say thank you, thank you, thank you for liking, sharing, and commenting because it all tells the algorithm to make me visible to more people. And that's my goal, to teach and support the masses rather than one-on-one. If you don't know me, my name is Johnny. You can learn more about me at my website, johnnymazzacco.com, my blog, writingthroughthebody.com. And on my website, you can get a free 10 ways to banish writer's block flip book. And so I hope you will go over there and grab that if you don't have it already. It's a cool little digital flip book, and I love the sound of its little pages turning. It just, I don't know what, it feels good to me when I hear that. It's a little kind of like ASMR, I guess. So I also have something new for you, but I will wait until the end of this video because I know that you are here to hear more about the new moon lunar eclipse in Pisces. So here's what it all means. As I said, first, let's look at what the Pisces full moon means. So one of the things that a Pisces full moon does is increases our intuition. So our intuition is heightened. And we all have intuition. Some of us are more tapped into it than others. I think a lot of it has to do with the way we've been raised. It has to do with societal beliefs, societal kind of the way society imposes its borders around us and tells us who we're supposed to be and what's acceptable. And we all have it though. And Also, environment can also impact the depth of your intuition or your ability to access it. And I think a lot of it is just putting ourselves in spaces that allow for that. Whether that means moving to nature, like I want to do, whether it means if we're in a city, finding ways to create protective little bubbles around ourselves so that we can still reach our intuition so that it can serve us. There are ways to get to it. So during this period, and an eclipse isn't just a one-day event, right? So this eclipse happens on September 7th, and there's always a lead up, and then it has this longish ripple effect. And we are in eclipse season. So this can be spread out over a 6-month period of time, I believe. This time now makes it easier for us to receive those intuitive downloads or that guidance, right? And so the reason this is great for us writers is it's even easier for us to speak to our characters and for them to speak to us. And so one exercise I always share with people is to sit in a quiet space and really be able to get in your body and let the outside world recede. Tune into your characters, do it one character at a time, and just start asking questions. It's almost like being in a bit of a trance. And I think this is what writing does anyway. I think we put ourselves in a kind of trance when we write and can get to flow state. Try going as deeply as you can with each character and keep asking questions. And, it's always a good idea to record what you've learned, and it might mean that you record everything after you write it down. It may work for you to record as you are hearing them. For me, that disrupts things, and so I'm not able to do that. One thing I do is I turn the record on my voice memos on my iPhone, and I just talk as things come to me, and then I transcribe that so that I have a file of it, and I can go back to it and use it. So I hope you'll take advantage of this period where intuition will be naturally heightened. What a Pisces full moon also does is allow for more emotional depth. And so emotions might be more potent right now because Pisces is the last water sign in the zodiac. And so it has gone through all the shit. It's gone through all the 12 steps, and it's full of so much. And if you know any Pisces, you might know that Pisces do carry a lot. They can be very, very, very sensitive because they carry so much weight. And, they are super watery because, like I said, they are the last. They've collected a lot on their path. And this is why sometimes addiction is associated with Pisces. And of course, addiction can, impact any sign. So this is not specific to Pisces, but Pisces is often thought to have more issues with this than others. And so if we think of it in these terms, when we are sensitive and we carry a lot, there may be a tendency to self-medicate because we carry so much. And I'm not a Pisces, I'm a Cancer. I'm the first water sign in the zodiac. And even I feel like I have carried so much in life, and I have been known to self-medicate in a variety of ways. And I know a lot of sensitive people who do. And so all of this is to say that with emotions more potent right now, think of it as like a rising tide. It can be easy to maybe feel swept up in it. But I would say if you can, do your very best to channel this energy into your writing. And, rather than suppress it, rather than self-medicate, let them pass on through you. Because suppressing and self-medicating just keeps them in here. And it clouds our thinking, it clouds our ability to create. When we write them outside of us. We flush them out. And so this is a great time to do that. And I've talked often about this objective subjective dance that writers do. And by that, I mean, we have to take an objective view of the story and of the characters. And so even if we are writing from personal experience, even then, maybe more so, we have to become super objective and distance ourselves from it as if it did not happen, and let it take on a meaning for a character. And then this character and that story becomes them and has nothing to do with us. And so when we're in this objective state of mind, we are gathering information objectively, we are making meaning of it all. And then the subjective part is where the emotions take over. And this is where then we as writers allow that to happen. We let the emotions filter into the story, and this is what gives it the emotional impact. So this emotional impact of your story is backed by this objective, solid foundation of meaning making that you have done. And it is not all objective and then all subjective. It's a constant dance between the two, especially if you're working, well, even if you're working on a short story, but most definitely when you're writing a novel, it is not a linear experience. It just can't be. So this is a great time to let the emotional part of your characters come out. And it can be uncomfortable, but it's absolutely essential if your story is going to have impact and have this universal appeal to people who read your work. A full moon in Pisces can also be about spiritual connection. So it's an excellent time to connect with your spiritual self, whatever that means to you. And, this can mean exploring different kinds of meditation. And meditation doesn't have to mean sitting in lotus position or lying down. I view my walks that I take as meditation. And, there's a goal in mind. I'm usually out running errands. I don't have a car. I walk all over downtown Portland. And I view those walks as meditation because the distance between where I start out and my destination, I have time to just tune in to myself and sort things out. And so writing can be a way to connect with the spiritual self. And, this is also a time where we might have mystical experiences. The reason all of this is good for writers is that, you probably heard me talk about my writing practice being my spiritual practice. And it is what connects me to mystical experiences. And just briefly, one way I can explain this to you is, I will say, I've experienced a deep kind of spiritual transformation because of my writing. I've also had experiences of writing characters and then meeting them. I've also had experiences of writing scenes and then they happen. And so when we allow ourselves to connect with our writing in that way, we can start to have more and more mystical experiences. And I live for those, and so I love it. I know they freak some people out, but I really do live for that. It makes me feel very alive and very connected. Another way that a full moon in Pisces can impact us is in terms of surrender and release. So full moons of any kind are about letting go, right? And so with this one, think about limiting beliefs that you have, anything that no longer aligns with your highest good. So in terms of you as a writer, what are your limiting beliefs? And what do you see as your highest good as a writer, both in terms of what you will gain from your writing life and what you will give the world? And I bring this up because, we all have limiting beliefs. And as it pertains specifically to your writing, how do you think about yourself first as a person? Because that informs then how you think about yourself as a writer. So maybe get really clear during this time about what your limiting beliefs are. What are those patterns, those lines that pass through your brain all the time? some easy ones that I can grab right now out of the air, that this isn't good enough, whatever this is, whatever you might be working on. I'm not good enough. I have to figure it out before I can get to the end. All of those things and plenty, plenty more are limiting beliefs that hold you back. So, what do you want from your writing? Is it a hobby? And that's perfectly fine if you want your writing to be a hobby. No one says that you have to, you know, become a published writer. If that's what you want, fabulous. But if you don't want that, then it doesn't matter. I know a lot of people who just write for themselves and then want to create a little collection of their writings for family members. And now with platforms like Ingram Spark, we can do that. You know, we can self-publish in that way. Do you want writing to be your profession? And so if so, what does that mean? You know, I was a professional copywriter for a while, and that was my profession. Was that my dream? No, I didn't love it for a lot of reasons. It helped my fiction writing in some interesting ways I didn't expect, but you know, it was not my dream ever to be a copywriter. Do you want to be published? I do. If you've been watching me for a while, you know that my novel, Miranda's Garden, is in the process of being independently published, which is different than self-published. I've talked about in a recent video. It's important to me at this point in my writing life to be published. Do you want to make money writing? Well, again, then that tells you what you need to do to make that happen. Maybe you do want to be a copywriter. You'll make money doing that. Maybe you want to write a genre that you believe is more marketable. People tend to think romance novels are that, but I talked to a romance novelist a while back, and she said it's a lot of work and you don't make a lot of money. But that's the reality with the writing world, unless, you know, you have a bestseller that gets a film option. And that's a possibility, but your book has to be in print for that to happen. So I would say during this time, get really clear about what it is you want from your writing life. And then anything that is in the way of it, surrender and get rid of it, release it, let go of it. There is something in my life that is more a personal thing, and I won't share it partly because it's personal, but I also think when we share these epiphanies that we have, when we turn a corner and suddenly see things in a different way, I think if we share them too much, it kind of takes the potency out of them. But I will say this is a thing I have carried with me for many, many years, for all of my adult life, I think, and just had a recent revelation. And it's like in that moment of having the revelation, this urge I've had to do this very particular thing is completely gone. And who knows what the impact of that will be, but I'm excited. It feels like I've shed a skin. So I hope during this time of this full moon lunar eclipse that you can find at least one thing in your life. And even if it doesn't directly connect to your writing, it still does, right? Because everything that goes on in our lives in general impacts our writing lives. All right, another way that a full moon in Pisces can affect us is in terms of creativity and expression. Mental blocks can be dissolved at this time. And so possibly that's what's happened with me, with what I was just mentioning, because this is very recent, the last few days. And like I said earlier, there's always a ramp up to full moons and then a ramp down. And especially when there's an eclipse involved, that ramp up and ramp off are longer. And the ripple effect is longer. So this is a great time for all forms of creative expression. And this can be anything from writing to painting to music and dance, anything. I'm curious what other creative outlets some of you have if you're writers. And I'm actually, I think, going to do another video on that because it fascinates me. I do think those of us who have a particular medium that we use to express that we also dabble in a lot of others, and I think they all feed each other. So, of course, this is good for us as writers because if we can let mental blocks dissolve and, if you can get out of your own way and refer to some of the other things I've said earlier in this video, like waiting to write something until you figure it out, that is such a big time waster. Not what a lot of people think. A lot of people think, if I just spend time writing pages I'm not going to use, that's a waste of my time. No, you are wasting precious time doing that. That is a scarcity mindset tactic. That's what that is. It's this fear of there not being enough time, this fear of hoarding. Like I get this hoarding kind of almost frantic feeling around that when people tell me that they won't just sit down and write and see what comes. They have to figure it out first. It's not going to happen. It's actually taking them longer. So if you find yourself doing this, please stop. Please let this time, at least for the next at least 2 weeks, perhaps 6 months, see what it's like to just take an idea and then write and see what comes out. And I think you'll be pleasantly surprised at how much you can work out in those pages. None of it is wasted. Another way that a full moon in Pisces can impact us is compassion and boundaries. And this, I think, is a big one also for writers. So compassion and empathy can be heightened during this time. And this is a really good thing anytime. And I think especially now with all the bullshit that's going on in the world, we do need more compassion and empathy. But for those of us who are highly sensitive, we do want to watch out for emotional absorption. And I'll talk about that in a minute. It's a great time to practice self-compassion and healthy boundaries to avoid feeling overwhelmed. So why this is all good for us? Well, let's start with compassion for yourself first, because this is where it all begins. I don't think we can truly have compassion for others unless we have compassion for ourselves first. And I know this maybe is something that has become somewhat cliche in the past several years with all the new age woo-woo, blah, blah. But I think it really is foundational to the human experience to learn how to self-love and show self-compassion. And I think everything else ripples out from that. When you can have real compassion for yourself as a person, this will migrate into your writing life. And when you have more compassion for yourself, and what lands on the page, when you stop critiquing yourself before you begin, or for what you've already put down, you will make room for yourself to write more, to experiment more, which will lead to more productivity and more self-confidence. So this self-compassion will then migrate to your characters, to all of your characters, even your nastiest antagonist. And you will be able to write them more fairly, more authentically, and more human. This will make your stories more believable, more universal, and they will stay with your readers long after they've put your work down. This will then lead to heightened compassion and empathy for others in the world. And like I said earlier, this can only be a good thing. This is how we heal the world through story. Self-compassion, honor your impulse to write, compassion for your characters, to write stories that get out into the world, validate, support people, help them feel seen and not so alone, and feel a little bit more healed. And it's this amazing, lovely, magical ripple effect that we writers can create. Okay, so the only caveat, I mentioned this earlier, emotional absorption. Highly sensitive people, those on the spectrum, intuitives, neurodivergence of any kind, we live at this reality every day. We are always managing or navigating the emotional impact of others because others' emotions can easily slip into us. And then it becomes this great weight. And so I have rituals and practices in place to protect me in this way. I get some really interesting vibes from people out in the world. Um, and it's taken me a minute to sort out what the fuck is behind them, why people respond to me the way they do, and what to do about it, how to protect myself. So I have some rituals and practices in place. And I've been thinking of creating some offerings and using some of these tips or including some of these tips. So if you are interested in hearing about those, please let me know. And I will start working on them. I am working on on my website, you will find a page called the Writers or the Writing Life Library. And this is a small but growing library of digital products that I'm creating to help you in your writer's life. Within that library is going to be a new feature called the Writer's Cabinet. And these will be, so the Writing Life Library is more like flip books and longer resources for you to keep returning to support your writing life. The Writer's Cabinet will be things like templates and just one-offs that you can use to work through one particular thing that you might be encountering in your writing. And then I am thinking of creating nah, I think I will save that until I have it out in the world, because what I've learned is that if I say something, someone else will use it. And if I think of it and don't make it happen, it will land on someone else. So I'm going to create this and I'll be telling you about it in the not too distant future, I think. All right, last thing on my list of ways that a Pisces full moon can impact us is subconscious exploration. And ooh, this is great. If you know me at all, if you've been following me for a while, you know how much I talk about the subconscious in writing. So during a Pisces full moon, it's a great time to delve into the subconscious. And as I was saying earlier, Pisces carry so much. They know so much. And this is why the Pisces full moon then allows us to have more access to our subconscious. And it allows us to engage in this kind of collective healing if we will take advantage of it, right? So what I always say about the subconscious is that it is where all your good stuff lives. This is your dark creativity. It's the all-knowing part of you. It's the parts of you that you keep hidden from the world and oftentimes from yourself. It's where if you ever had the bravery to let it out, these shocking stories would come out. But they're shocking because they need to be told, because they are somehow taboo, because the culture, the world has said, oh no, we don't talk about those things. Your subconscious holds those. And this is why we need to let them out. It's a part of you that holds your story ideas. It holds the answers to your character's struggles. And this is why when I work with people, I ask questions. This is why in my Writing Through the Body course, I just ask questions. Because I believe my students, clients, people that I have worked with, will continue to work with, they have the answers. They just need help finding a way into a small little crack so they can find it. And your subconscious is also where the solutions to your writing obstacles live. I think once we embrace this idea that our subconscious holds everything we need to know, it's very liberating. It can open us up and make the process of writing a bit less cumbersome, a bit less arduous, even painful. For some people, it's painful. That this energy is available right now to us can translate to a kind of, like I said earlier, collective healing. And this in part relates to, like I was saying earlier, that ripple effect of compassion for the self, then for your characters, and then how that filters out into the world to other people. Same is true for this part about being able to access your subconscious. If we all collectively are able to do that right now, think about the wave that we can create in the world. And your part in it could be your writing, right? So getting those stories that you've been holding inside you out into the world. So, brief summary, in essence, then, a full moon in Pisces is this kind of cosmic invitation to trust the flow of life. And I would say the flow of the creative process. Trust that it is going to work because it always does, unless you get in the way. Pisces full moon is also about embracing your spiritual side, however that looks to you. It's about releasing the past, releasing ideas that don't serve you anymore, that hold you back, and allowing your creative, intuitive gifts to come to the forefront. Okay, so a few brief things real quick about the impact of the eclipse. So as I said, Rachel Lang, I'm on her email list, and so this is why I know that she believes this. This eclipse energy with this Pisces full moon, it catalyzes the life changes that we previously resisted. And that's a quote from Rachel. And I will read, this is a quote from her. This energy catalyzes the life changes we previously resisted. Deep healing, which means making peace with the past, reducing the emotional change or emotional charge of our painful memories that our painful memories have had. The Pisces moon opens our hearts, and the Virgo sun helps us organize our thoughts and our feelings. Again, fabulous for writers. Pisces opens us up. The Virgo sun helps us organize. So again, it's that subjective, objective thing that we have to do as writers. Okay? So that is it for the Pisces full moon lunar eclipse. And now the little tidbit I was going to mention to you, I have a new flip book ready, hot off the press, hot off the digital press, and it is in my Writing Life library on my website. I will put the link in the description. And it is all about backstory. It is called What You Need to Know About Backstory to Write Good Fiction. And it now accompanies setting. And next up will be description. And I have a list there on that page that tells you which others are upcoming. And my goal is to get them all done by the end of this year. And so I'm really going to have to get my ass in gear and make those a priority because, as with everybody, that I have like a million things to juggle all at once. But I'm really committed to getting those out by the end of the year. And I just love them. They're fun to create. They're fun to turn into flip books. And like I said earlier, I just adore the sound of their little pages turning. And so hope you will check them out. They're really affordable ways that I can help you with your writing life. And, one of the reasons also that I have let go of one-on-one is it's really expensive to hire a coach and pay them what they're worth. And I always got critiqued by colleagues that I undercharge. But I always wanted to make my services available to people. And I've decided that digital products is a better way for me to do that. And more people will be able to more readily afford what I have to offer. And so I'm excited about what I have coming up. I hope you will check it out, get it for yourself, and add it to your resources that you use to consult, to improve your writing life, and to support yourself as a writer. All right. Thank you for watching. As always, I send you mad writing mojo. Happy writing.